Okay, so yeah, a flavour of the Manx marine environment, and very much about the work that Dr. Lara Howe and our amazing team of volunteers do. So let's start with the map. So the Isle of Man, roughly 10 by 35 miles, 85,000 people. Strategic location for the Wildlife Trust, we feel, right in the middle of the British Isles and right in the middle of the Irish Sea. We are also part of the global small island network, which is wonderful. So we've got various issues, many of these. I saw a tweet actually this week from the Northwest Living Seas group, and it looked very similar to this. So industrialisation, fishing, benthic bottom trawling, invasive species. But the Manx issue of basking sharks is interesting. You know, 10 years ago, there was 500 sightings. Now there's less than 10. Why is that? So Nature Recovery Network, the Isle of Man are proud of our 0 to 3 mile, 52% of the island now is a marine nature reserve. The key one, the flagship one, is Ramsey, which has been there for 10 years now in the north of the island. You can see the detailed map there. But our ambition is to go beyond that 52% and really expand into the 12. Seals are important for us. So predominantly grey seals, but also harbour seals. And Manx Wildlife Trust are involved in monitoring the seal pupping on the Calf. We have the strandings team of volunteers that look after that. And we're also now in discussion with local vets about setting up a rehabilitation centre for seals. We operate an Isle of Man small shark tagging programme funded by DEFA, the Isle of Man government, and that's typically catching tope, spurdog, bullhuss and rays. Over 300 now have been tagged. Only one has been recaught in the Netherlands, but we are catching sharks that have been tagged in Scotland as well. We've recently been appointed the Isle of Man Sea Search Coordinators. That's Lara on the far right of the picture. We've run our first observer course, and we're collecting lots of data and picking out new dive sites to fill in the holes, in the gaps in the Sea Search data set, with all the data ending in our own Manx NBN atlas. We have a wonderful part of the marine world is on the Calf. If any of you have been to the Calf of Man, the little island at the south of the Isle of Man, where Manx Wildlife Trust run the bird observatory for Manx National Heritage. Wonderful, again, measuring typically, you know, migratory birds right in the middle of the Irish Sea and the British Isles. It's really important location. Just two examples now of birds. First one, shearwaters. So we have an issue, or we did have, with longtails. We can't say the RAT word in the Isle of Man. But years ago, there were no shearwaters nesting. Through a longtail eradication programme, we're now getting over 600 breeding pairs of shearwaters on the Calf of Man, which is fantastic. Puffins is another one. So here we've got some decoy puffins. We've had these out since 2016. Again, there weren't puffins nesting or on the Calf since 1990. Also speakers funded by Manx Ornithological Society playing puffin calls, decoy birds around the island in 2 locations. And what is really, really fantastic is that this photo was taken this year, and for the first time since 1990. This is a real puffin on the right, grooming a decoy. You can tell it's decoy because it's got no legs below the knee. And we've now got 4 puffins, we believe, 2 pairs, that have been photographed with nesting material going into burrows, which counts as nesting activity. What's next? Well, this is a map of the MOTUS bird tracking set up by the US. There's some in Australasia and Asia, and you can see a few in Europe, including some in England. But we've got funding now through the Wildlife Park to put a MOTUS receiver in the middle of the Irish Sea in our bird observatory. And I'd be interested to hear from the English ones there if you know anything about them. Seagrass, Isle of Man's really, really important for seagrass all down the east coast. We're looking to map the new bits, and we've got some money from Sea Changers to do that. And we actually found a new site in Bulgham Bay. And we've also got funding from Microgaming to try and reintroduce seagrass into Port Erin. Connecting people to nature. This is one of my favourite places for a coffee and a slice of toast. This is our bird observation tower at the Point of Air Nature Discovery Centre. Fantastic place to watch gannets and seals and all sorts. So, and we've got other nature discovery centres in the south of the island, a nature reserve in the dunes at Cronky Bean. Schools education. So this was me and our education officer, Dawn, on the back row. And I think it's fair to say that anyone that's been brought up in the Isle of Man, gone to school here, or been in the Scouts, Cubs or Guides will have done a rock pulling session with our fantastic education officer, Dawn. She really does introduce lots of people to the marine environment. Spectacular event for us is the Festival of the Sea. We ran this actually last weekend. Imagine, so the scenario is we get scuba divers, we go out and we collect marine life. we put it into tanks, and basically we open up an aquarium for 2 days, and we get thousands of people that come in and do activities and actually get to encounter marine life they'd never see. Marine tourism, one dive site, lots of wrecks. Scuba diving here is fantastic. Some of you will hopefully know that. We've got some great dive operator in Discover Diving and lots of other experiences. But the real potential we're hoping for is to develop ecotourism. Maybe that's around puffins, shearwaters, small shark tagging, or some of the megafauna. We do marine consultancy. Again, this is another picture of Lara. Here she's actually surveying the black guillemots in Peel Harbour as part of the silt dredging programme. But we're also involved in other programmes. There's a current one that's looking to repurpose, redesign the old Port Erin Marine Field Lab, and Ramsey Marina is another more slightly controversial project. Isle of Man Maritime is basically a membership club for all the corporates that work in the marine environment. We joined Isle of Man Maritime last year. Delightfully, one of their members, Ocean Web, sponsored the Festival of the Sea, and others are now showing interest, you can imagine, in the Puffins. So some really great connections. My last slide in the picture culture, a little bit of a zoom picture at the top there. That is fantastic for us. So that is the Northwest Living Seas Wildlife Trust Group now have launched a group, and they brought into it the 6 nations that are having conversations about how we can collaboratively work together for the Irish Sea. So watch this space.